is brought to you by ASTRO, Monster Energy, Corsair, Zowie, Intel, and Lenovo Legion.
The date is September 10th, 2017, and over the past 3 days, we've narrowed down the DreamHack ASTRO Open Montreal down to the top 2 teams. CLG, Gale Force, Complexity, Luminosity, and Kingwin, and now Cloud9 are out, leaving only your grand finalists remaining, Immortals and North. A match to determine a champion who will collect a $50,000 grand prize, and all made very much possible by our sponsors in ASTRO, Monster Energy, Zowie, Corsair, Intel, and Lenovo, as well as, our beautiful panel here on the desk. My name is Stunna, and I'm joined by my colleagues and friends here in Pimp and in Hayes. Guys, do we have a match of matches, or what's going on here?
We have the 2 best team in the final, and that's good.
That's all you could ask for, let's be honest.
That is certainly all that you can ask for, but we need to just really kind of look at how these teams got here in the first place. So let's pull up these brackets, let's pull up these groups, and let's try to narrow this one down, guys.
Yeah, I mean, the first group, we saw North going up against Gale Force, their first game of the whole tournament. It was close, you know, and it was well played by Gale Force, but North prevailed, and also prevailed against Kingwin, which made them secure their semifinals. But CLG had a rough first day against Kingwin, took the advantage, or took the revenge the day after, winning them 2-0 in the consolidation match, and that's how Group A played out pretty much.
Yeah, and Group B was a fairly, I think, standard group for us. 16-5s in the opening round, both for Immortals and for Cloud9. Had a really tight match towards the end on Immortals and Cloud9. Almost a comeback. It would have been pretty sweet to see. I think the crowd would have liked it. And then Luminosity 2-0'd Complexity, and then Cloud9 taking Luminosity.
A super Cloud9 crowd now having to sit here and watch North and Immortals. Do you think they're bothered?
Yeah, probably. Based on the votes, especially.
So North Immortals are going to be our grand finalists, and I do believe we can't go any further without just kind of diving into just how these teams got to where they are right now. A match worthy of a $50,000 check. Let's take a look at the path that it took to get here.
Their way. They gotta be careful though, that close-up position. They're definitely not. Oh, he gets a second one too. Great stuff from Steel. And now they're not even gonna expect this. KNG rolls in from the other side, dominates it.
Feels amazing. It feels great. But I want the trophy. I don't care about the final to reach the final. I just want the trophy. It has been too long since we hold a trophy.
It's amazing. I mean, it's our second straight final, and so far we've only played 2 events, so that's really positive. I think we're playing really good as a team at the moment. Our roles are well defined, and everybody's doing their job perfectly.
Ace sneaks out, gets a kill, automatical trade, but AZ's still alive, just stuck in the barrel corner, but he's still at work. There you go, another kill from AZ, but Tarek trades it, brings it down to a 1v1, but AZ can't be stopped.
We are not practicing at all. We haven't been practicing since the major. So that's really good that the team's still performing really good, but we need more time to prepare for the next tournaments.
So I'm hoping for a good game, and yeah, we got some tricks up our sleeves.
Hey North, if you're hearing this, it's not gonna happen, man. We're coming for you.
And you love to see it, too. I actually love to see that side of Zach. He's an awesome dude, and it's certainly an interesting thing to see him call someone out like that. Regardless, I'm going to call out you, the viewer at home, to get in there and get your votes in on this matchup. That's right. If you haven't been participating this entire time, you should participate this time by voting in chat using !IMM or !North. Now, if you two were at home, which one would you type?
Ooh, this is a tough one.
Just because I want to hear you say exclamation.
I think you got to go with !IMM.
I would go with !North.
And it's outstanding that both of you guys are just right at each other on that. Let's take a look at North. One of your grand finalists coming into this. We had to have expected it. These guys are a powerhouse, coming fresh off of a second place at Malmo, looking to grab the trophy here. Let's talk about North, Pimp.
I mean, we've only seen one weakness from them, and that was against the Gale Force in the first game. And I think like now that we've seen them play throughout the rest of the tournament, that was just simply them coming in not hot in the first game. Nothing more to put into that. It was a great game by Gale Force, but and again, North won, and a win is a win, you know. For the rest of the tournament, they look solid. MSL, even the in-game leader, not normally a guy who puts up a lot of frags, but this tournament he seems to be able to, you know. And whatever that comes down to MSL upping his level, or the competition is just not that good at this tournament. That's remained to be seen in this final. But overall, North have just been playing well, and I think this is by paper the strongest team we have at this event.
It's very interesting, right? So people can talk about config all day, but there's definitely a support staff full of fragging abilities right behind these guys. I mean, we could talk about Voldemort. We could talk about MSL, even in that last game, like you're saying. Just able to go off the rails and really provide for his team, and I think that's going to be a huge factor in if these guys can beat Immortals.
Yeah, and I think there's a stark contrast in the way these two teams have depth within their rosters. I think North has depth in that they have Config, who's very aggressive, but they have a lot of support players behind him that play very solid, like, you know, it's almost fundamental Counter-Strike, and they're very good at it. Whereas when I look at Immortals, I think they're just deep in their roster in aggressive play styles. They have KNG making a play, Henny making a play, Lucas making a play. It's just, you almost can't read what they're doing sometimes. So I think this is going to be a good matchup just because you don't know what's going to happen. And you don't really know what playstyle is the best, and I think this might be a good match to see.
Just by nature, they're naturally aggressive. But to continue down the road on North here, what can we, I guess, expect them to see to elect to play here against the Immortals?
I think we can expect, like, it depends on what Immortals shows up, you know, because North is going to play their fundamentally strong CS, and especially the CT side's been incredibly well, you know, and that's something MSL always struggled with his teams. It's easy, he always said, like, to me as well when I played with him, it's easy to make a good T side, you know, you can always come up with stretch, you can always figure out things to do, and it's not like as aim-based as the CT side is. So he always have been struggling with the CT side, but ever since they got Velde in, it seems like they just like nailed that down, you know. So it depends what Immortals shows up, you know. They have to go in and they have to be aggressive, as James said, and they have to hit their shots if they want a chance to win this one.
Well, talking about hitting shots, let's talk about Config just a little bit. We talk about him all the time, but how important is it for Config to show up in this matchup and firing on all cylinders?
I mean, I think if you look at the day one North against Gale Force, Config wasn't really like the force that we know him to be. And then you saw him come alive on Train against CLG, and it was just, or sorry, Cloud9, I apologize. And he just took over the map. He was getting aces, just pushing everything. And I think that's the big difference between, you know, a North that's looking average and a North that's looking like a tier 1 team. It depends on Config's level. I think they, even when he's playing bad, they're almost like almost a tier 1 team, tier 2 team, because they have that solid foundation to fall back on. But what makes them tier 1 is when Config is feeling it.
And you got to give it to Config, because he had a rough first day and he acknowledged that himself. So we saw him yesterday play deathmatch for 2 hours sitting out there in the lone. I saw him yesterday as well playing 2 hours of deathmatch sitting all by himself. You know, his team was at the hotel. He's a guy who reckons when he plays bad, and he doesn't, like, he can't stand it, you know. He want to be good all the time, and that's why he put in a lot of work.
And he definitely talks the talk to try to compensate either way, right? I mean,
you have to be good if you're talking like that on Twitter.
Absolutely. I mean, the guy, I personally love interviewing this guy. I like doing content with this guy. He's a character amongst just a group of them. But most importantly here, reflecting back to Malmo and what didn't work in the finals against G2, do we feel like they will run into the same problems here today?
It's a different team they meet. It's like G2 is this super team collected of French stars, you know, who have probably the highest skill ceiling level in the entire world in that team, safe to say. Whereas Immortals are great individuals, but it's not on the same caliber. So I think what failed for North in the Malmö final was that they were not strong enough individually to shut that down. You know, fundamentals CS get you a long way, but when you face a team like G2 on all cylinders, there's not much you can do. Where I feel Immortals, like, they're not going to show up with that level of individual play, so it should be easier on paper for North to close that down.
Is it safe to say G2 are the French stars? Yeah, it's something like that. How does the meme go? Is it G2 are the French stars? There's the AZK one.
Oh God, yeah, I don't know the exact wording, but that meme is.
It's been a while. Sometimes you got to pull them out. You know what I mean?
That's a 2014 meme.
Look, man, sometimes I'm living in 2014. Sometimes I don't know where I'm living. Regardless, this lineup definitely one to be reckoned with. I mean, going further into depth with North, I mean, is there anything that could limit them on their own side? What can be their own kryptonite and keep them from winning today?
Ooh, I don't know.
I'm hitting them bangers. Let's go.
They've looked kind of unstoppable in this event. I mean, in my opinion, I haven't seen any real flaws. I would say maybe the only thing you could point at is how deep does their strat book go, because they haven't been, I guess, with this roster for that long. So maybe they're just running off a few basic strats and MSL's just making great calls. But I can't imagine that their strat pool is really deep. So if they get into big trouble, are they going to have that depth strategically to be able to get rounds against a team that is so aggressive and skilled?
Yeah, I totally agree, and that's like one of the reasons it's hard to find flaws in this team. Like, that's one of the reasons why I reckon them so high. I really do believe it's a top 5 team in the world we have right here. Nothing is going to stop them today, I think. They're in the honeymoon period. They're all feeling it, and this is the tournament they need to win, because they played at Malmö. They got a nice second place. Now they're playing here. They're about to win this tournament. They should be, at least. And now they're going to New York next week, where it's going to be a tougher competition, you know. So if they want a trophy coming from these first 3 tournaments with Veld, it got to be today.
Now, do you think that this team is experienced enough and they're just so versed in the art here that they're not going to run out of gas, so to say? I mean, is this a team that should have no problem going into this Immortals matchup?
Oh, no. Yeah, every player on that team has been in at least multiple finals at this point. They're all tier 1 talents. They probably live and breathe the game, so I can't imagine that they're going to run out of gas here. If anything, they're motivated, especially Config, is what Jacob was saying. That guy's been out here DMing nonstop. He is so prepared and ready for this match, and we saw him own Cloud9 earlier, so I don't see them running out of gas at all.
Me neither at all, and you also have to take into consideration that you have Roka behind them. That's a guy who goes way back in CS Source. You know, when I started playing when I was 12 years old, that was a guy you look up to. Now he's pretty horrible at the game, but he makes a good coach, you know. So they have a lot of depth and they have a lot of experience in that sense, you know, where he can also come in and help them should they face any trouble.
Well, you know, interesting tidbit, and I didn't quite know this. Is Ruga truly, is he a school teacher?
He is a school teacher. He's an educated school teacher, and I believe he worked as a school teacher at a school before he got the job from North. It's a guy I played with in CSGO when it came out, together with MSL. So we played with him back then, and we had 6 months together before we decided to kick him because he was not good enough back then. And he was old as well. Then he became
nice to your teacher.
Yeah,
be nice to your teacher.
You know, he has more success than I have right now, so fair enough. But he then became a school teacher, and now he's back on North being the coach, you know, and he's helping them winning games, and that's the important thing about this.
Well, we do see that hunk of a man right there on the stage. But what we are waiting on is the Immortals, who are, well, they're not quite seated just yet, but any moment, hopefully, it will be an Immortals freshened up and sitting down after that performance earlier that landed them here. Let's dive into Immortals now, guys. I think it's time we could shift gears here. The Immortals themselves, do they have a lot to prove?
I mean, absolutely. After Malmo, they played North there and got 0-2'd. They're really going to need to come out here swinging. And I think if they're going to beat North, they really got to secure the pistols, because I do think North might be a little more structured and better in the gun rounds. But like I was saying earlier, if Immortals comes out really strong and maybe stumps MSL and he runs out of ideas, they could get away with the map. I don't think it'll happen. But I do want to see Immortals going just wild. I mean, that's what they're good at. I want to see KNG, you know, doing some 360 no-scopes.
Let's not forget this is a team that made a major final only 2 months ago now. It's a team of stars, basically, and it's a team that can deliver on the highest stage, you know. So we get to see 2 teams that have been established for quite some time now, and it's not like a Cloud9 where they're new to it and we don't know where to put them in the world rankings. We know where Immortals are, and we know what they're capable of, so this could be a very great game.
Yeah, I mean, Cloud9 definitely having to reassert themselves, whereas Immortals do not. Well, at this time, I hate to inform you at home, we are going to go to a quick break while we do get the Immortals situated and ready to play in this grand finals. We will be right back, so make sure you don't go anywhere here at the DreamHack ASTRO Open Montreal.
Coming into the side of red box, Sixers here's the feet, and no scope for the head. beast.
Game, record, and stream without compromise. Only on Intel Core i7.
What do we got here? Looks like a digital video game for the iPhone, Android, and iPad. It's called Pocket Mortys. Look at all these little Mortys that you get to run around and collect. Mustache Morty, cat Morty, one eyeball Morty. This just seems really cruel. I mean, come on. What are you doing? It's free. It's a free game. It's not pay to win either. It's Pocket Mortys. Get over here and pick it up. It's a free game.
Win.sliver.tv. As you watch CSGO, you'll earn free coins. Pick the team you think will win and boost your bet. Earn more coins by answering trivia. Bet correctly to get raffle tickets. Win awesome prizes like CSGO skins, virtual reality headsets, and more. Play now at win.sliver.tv.
Grab your gear and let's go.
With the Strafe Esports app, follow your favorite teams and players, and you'll never miss a match again. Strafe, everything esports. Download now on iOS and Android.
Oh, crap.
This is love. If this is love, feel your tears in the rain. Now we're on again. I pray that you will shelter me. I will fight in your memory. This is love. If this is love. This is love.
DreamHack Astro Open is brought to you by ASTRO, Monster Energy, Corsair, Zowie, Intel, and Lenovo Legion.
Welcome back to the DreamHack Astro Open Montreal, where we're getting down to the wire here. It is time for the grand finals on this fine Sunday, September the 10th. And as we do take a little bit of a look here around the city of Montreal, it's a pretty nice place to be. I think that this has been a really nice tournament. I've been in the city a couple times, and I thoroughly enjoy what do they call it, poutine? I don't want to say it too wrong. God forbid that happens. Anyway, we got quite a matchup on our hands here, guys. Immortals and North. We're going to be getting started here shortly. Let's talk about it.
I mean, there's a lot to say when it comes to these two teams. Their differing styles is definitely what I'm looking at. Immortals' aggression versus North's passive, standard, rock-solid formations that they have on the map. I think this is going to be a really tight match on possibly all three maps.
Yeah, and as MSL said in the after interview after they won against who was it in the semifinal? CLG.
Yeah, it was CLG Immortals, yeah.
Yeah, anyway, after Marcel won the semifinal, he said it's always random playing against Immortals, you know. It's always it's tough for a caller for him to do the anticipating because he doesn't know what to expect, you know. And that's one of the big issues, I guess, both for Immortals, you know. It's not necessarily a strength, but also for North preparing for this match because they don't know what they're going to face. It's like a random coin toss every time you face Immortals.
It's kind of like a game of landmines, right? So even looking at this, though, having players as explosive as these guys that can get as aggressive as they can really put just attack in the side of any strat that you might want to do when it comes down to the CT sides of things. Let's talk a little bit about the Immortals and that approach, though. I mean, we do know that right now KNG is going off. He's the player to watch on this team. Who else should we be looking out for?
I mean, Bolts has been the MVP of Immortals for this tournament, in my opinion. Henny has gone under the radar for sure, at least for me. And statistically, I think he might still be number one. I haven't checked, but leading up to the semifinals, he was just the top performer along with Bolts. And Steele actually, you know, on the desk earlier was talking about how he felt like he wasn't doing that well this tournament. I thought he's had some pretty impactful rounds. I thought he's doing his job really well as an in-game leader. So I think he should be less harsh on himself.
Yeah, I love Steele and the way he plays and also the way he talks about himself. Like, he seems so honest every time you interview him and like no bullshitting at all. Like, he just tells the things as they are. And he has not had the best tournament, but he has not been as absent as he made it sound at all.
A very, very humble fellow indeed. Definitely someone I can look up to within the players on this team. Looking at it, though, let's take a look at the votes coming from the Twitch chat. Coming in hot at 55%. Win percentage there, prediction, I guess, by the Twitch chat by using !IMM, or if you want to go ahead and vote for North, you can do the same using that exclamation point.
Earlier I said Immortals. I'm changing.
All of a sudden.
And I know the chat is favoring Immortals right now, which I do think is strange. I'm actually going to jump on board the North train.
It's kind of wild, right? Because we do know North to have just gone second in Malmo. We do know them to be on this somewhat of a hot streak. And definitely have something to prove for themselves going into this. But more importantly, let's get into the map vetoes where it really counts, where we really find out what maps we're going to be playing this grand final on. Cash and Nuke have been banned. What will be our first two maps, guys?
I think we're going to see the same maps that we did at Malmo. At least I think North is going to pick Inferno now. They manhandled Immortals on Inferno 16-7 at Malmo, so I'd be surprised if they didn't pick it. Maybe Cobble is in there as well. As for Immortals, I don't know what to pick for them because they lost both their own map Inferno and they also lost Mirage at Malmo. You know, so it's kind of like, what do we go with? If we pick Train, then North have just shown to be good on Train as well. You know, North goes for Mirage exactly as they won on Malmo, exactly also as they picked at Malmo, and I would expect Immortals to go for Inferno or maybe Cobble in this case. Maybe even Overpass in order to just spice things up. I don't know.
I would be okay with seeing Cobble. Thank you. They picked Cobble as I was saying it. That's what I'm talking about, because I don't think North is as dominant on Cobble as I think people maybe make them out to be. And their record is very good on Cobble. There's no denying that. But when I was playing for Optic and we played against North, I thought after watching North demos, I said, you know, these guys don't do anything that special, and they are exploitable on that map. But they usually win just because they're such a solid team.
Well, we're going to see Overpass and Train, the last bands leaving Inferno. So we've got Mirage, Cobble, and Inferno. Guys, do any of these maps stick out to you in favor of one or the other side?
I think Cobble sticks out to North. I agree with you. Like, they don't do anything in particular special, but they're just so fundamentally strong. And I feel like, and that's like Cobble like rewards teams who play fundamental strong CS. Like pretty much when they had Rubino and Tensky back in the days and with Dickens, they redefined the way to play Cobble. Very structured, very slow-paced Cobble, and they went back to that a little bit with this new roster, as well as some explosive tactics. So I think North have a lot on Cobble, and I think it's going to be hard for Immortals. That said, though, it is one of the maps where Immortals likes to run around with a double up setup and basically just destroy people and ruin, you know, whatever tactics and whatever like strategies you might have up in your sleeves, you know. So it could be close, but I still see it favoring North.
Yeah, I think this veto does favor North as well, but I do think Mirage could be explosive because that is a very puggy. It's open to a very puggy style of play, and that is what Immortals is strong at. So
also a map that did go into, I think it was double overtime at Malmö, at least one overtime.
Yeah.
So they played close on that map, so it should be a great game.
Well, guess what, guys? I have an Easter egg for you, and it is that we will not be seeing the first map of Mirage. It does look like the Immortals have forfeited it due to being late to the stage and to playing, and that's just the way the cookie crumbled, I suppose. I don't really know what else to say about that other than the process needs to be respected, and rules by tournament organizers need to be respected, and the right thing is certainly, I believe, right here. I remember, now we're not going down the path. Anyway, guys, so that should make your predictions just a little bit different here. We do now only have, I mean, we're basically going to this grand final with North having a map advantage.
Yeah, well, if North want to win before, they sure are now.
It's over.
And you gotta kind of, it's a rough one, right? Because you hate to see a grand final turnout like this, but I mean, the rules are the rules.
Let's be honest, it's stupid, you know. I don't know the reasons behind it, but it's flat out stupid from Immortals not showing up for a grand final, whatever the reasons are, you know. We will have to hear whatever they are, right? But it's annoying for us as commentators and as fans as Counter-Strike. Same goes out for the crowd out there. They probably wanted to see a great game, maybe going to 3 maps, right? We're not going to see that, and they stole that away from us, so it's very unfortunate.
Well, you know, now that we have this news, now that the entire landscape of the grand final of the DreamHack ASTRO Open Montreal has changed significantly, we're still going to do predictions, guys.
Is there actually a point?
Yes, yes, there is, and you have to give an answer. And unfortunately for you,
you know, the amount of disrespect Immortals has shown today. I hope they get 16-0'd. Let's go.
Whoa, I mean. You said it. It is there. So there's already the vote by Hayes over to North. Let's go ahead and chime in here with Pimp.
I wouldn't mind if they get 16-0, but also now we only get to see one map, so let's at least have a close map and a good map.
That's fair.
It's going to go to North anyway, and it's going to be a 2-0 for them, but it's a shame, really.
Yeah, you know, a shame is certainly one way to put it, and you know, you certainly have to respect the process here, because not only does this look bad overall, I mean, it's kind of a slap in the face to esports.
I mean, we could sit up here and chastise them all day, but they're going to get chastised by plenty of other people.
It's going to be worse, and I do have to pick a winner for this, and I want to side with North.
Go for Immortals.
But just to throw a wrench in the spokes, I'm still going to go with North, just because. That's the way it has to be. They have a map advantage. There's no way they don't walk away with this one at this point. And you have to imagine Immortals are on full tilt.
They should be. They should be.
At least some of those players are on full tilt.
Yes, there is a tilt like no one has ever seen before. But let's go ahead and check in with the Twitch chat at home, who probably just had this knowledge bomb dropped on them. And as you can tell, the votes have started to turn in favor of North. That's a 52 percentile expected to win on the North side of things. Guys, is this a mess or is this a mess?
I'm not sure which one is yeah, I don't want to say that, you know, which one is less dumb, whatever that being Immortals or the Twitch chat. Obviously, Immortals are having a huge chance of winning this one, you know, and it cannot be true that a team doesn't show up for the first match. It still blasts me out, you know, it's just, no, it's not good enough.
Well, let's be fair there. that there is still a chance for them to win.
Yeah.
It's just you've already set yourself behind quite a bit. I'm going to go ahead and bring in the commentators now who are also waiting on Immortals to get in the server. Sadakis, Scrawny, guys, let's get your 2 cents.
This is, I think, over 50 events for me in the last 3 years. This is the first. That's pathetic by Immortals. You have to be here. You played the morning best of 3. You had the entire day off. You watched the other game. Sorry, this is deserved, in my opinion. I called Hazed out once for being late. Remember that?
Oh, yes, I do. I do remember that. We got into it on Twitter.
We did. That was a good time.
I think this is Immortals' loss because the Montreal crowd is the greatest Canadian crowd there is when it comes to Counter-Strike. So it's their loss that they have now not only lost fans, but have disrespected them in the sense that they're not going to get a full BO3 finals.
It would be something if they pulled back 2 maps. It would be a giant middle finger to the ruling, I suppose. But it certainly is, I think, we have to agree, North's game to lose at this point in time, and I don't think they will. I think this should go strictly 1-0. Is that what we call it now?
I guess.
Is that how that works? But yeah, finals last week, obviously Immortals, sure, they played in the major final, but North is on an upward trajectory. Honeymoon period, you guys touched on it all perfectly. I think this is a game that they should take quite quickly, I think.
Well, we do have the grand finals to get into, and we do have the 2 best Canadian casters right outside of Vancilli, of course. Ready to take it away. And well, you guys are here, so how about that? You guys take it away from here and give us what should be maybe only 1 map.
Thanks.
Well, it should be, and maybe possibly all of the above. Yeah, it's going to be Cobblestone, which is also a good map for Immortals, has been a good map in the history for Immortals, and I would normally say against most teams the map that they should take, but against North, it's also home turf. North has been very good on it. They've constantly improved. Again, even when they had Magisk against Virtus Pro at the major, they had an incredible first half and lost that. They've adjusted. They took Config back over to the A side, got him more aggressive, bringing in Volda. It stables, I think, all of the CT side rotations. So I favor North on this one. I think it could be a good game. I think we could have double digits on both sides.
Yeah, I mean, I would still like to see a close match. I'd still like to see that BO3 and get down to the decider because I thought it could have been closer. I also want to praise MSL when he plays that connector position on the CT side of Cobblestone. I think that he's a very active player in the sense that he just locks down connector. We saw that really being the issue that they faced when playing with Gale Force, who, again, were very much prepared for that 1BO1. And North, praise to them, they survived the trial. So this is going to be definitely a tough job in the face of Immortals, and I think that, again, you can't help but favor North coming into this, let alone a map advantage.
So there you go, Mirage. Just wiped off. I think that's what that means. What is W? I've never seen this before.
I have no clue.
It's not a procedure I'm used to. Yeah, they're not happy about it either. Obviously, unimpressed. I'm sure that they'll have to face the wrath of social media as soon as this game's over, which I highly doubt they're looking forward to. We know that the Brazilian social media in particular is very, very active.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, unless they have some kind of wild excuse, which I don't think there are many of, it's their actions, right? But it's a shame. You hate to see it, some would say.
Some would say that. On the other side of it, North obviously just came off of the best of 3, which a bit of a comeback toward the end, bit of momentum on Cobblestone in particular as well, just to make note of, against Cloud9, but they literally just played this map. They won a series against a team that was a favorite coming into this event, 2-0, convincing fashion, sitting here, got some food, got it ready, and basically didn't even have to reset up. Everything was still waiting for them on the stage, but they were still talking strats. They were still talking about everything together as a team. I happened to walk by them to grab some food and hear that they were quite focused on it. So I expect that they'll be more than ready to play them on Cobblestone in particular. And we know both teams can run a double up setup as well. And this map does, although, yes, we've had the debate many times. Sponge and Henry love to get into it for various economic reasons, but it is viable on this map in various situations.
Yeah, I think that with the addition of KNG into this lineup, that's one of the things he really gave these Brazilian players is the ability to fall back into that double op setup. I've been thoroughly impressed with his op play, and obviously Henny, I mean, he can be just next level. I like to kind of contrast this to maybe say like Cloud9, where you have Skadoodle, who's the more passive angle holding opper, and then you've got Stu, who can just get so insanely aggressive. And that's what Henny does. He can repeat angles so many times that it almost becomes, critiquable, and yet he pulls off those opening frags, and he can still land those crucial shots. So, I mean, praise to him. Very good sniper, and that's something that I feel like North are going to have to try and handle, because we spoke about it on the desk, the contrast of play styles between these two teams. One, you could argue, is textbook, where the other is very flashy. And so it's always a fun test when you get these sorts of mismatched teams facing off with one another. I just can't help but feel like maybe the T side of Cobble could be a struggle for at least the Brazilians.
You do mention a good point as well with Henny. Obviously, he has such a high peak, but we don't see it consistently enough. And if we do, it's usually at the expense of someone else. And I don't mean that he intentionally or whatever he's doing causes someone else to not play as well, but it just seems like they never have all their guns firing at the same time. Oh, you've got some fans, Scrawny.
Yeah, I got some locals.
Some locals. You are literally from Montreal.
Yep.
For those who don't know. But it's interesting in that when you see Henny hit that potential and hit that peak, a lot of times Lucas maybe isn't. KNG has brought a lot more consistency to the team. That's why I think the major run was so great to watch for Immortals. It was the first time all 5 players were contributing at the same time, and they were all actually playing as a team, as a unit, if you will. I think we're just working on a headset.
I think we're actually about to go live.
Well, you can go live. I'll go live with you, and everyone else can join us online on sliver.tv to go live and win some prizes. All you've got to do is join the URL. You'll see exactly this game as presented to you if you're watching it on Twitch, only with prizes. That's even better. Lucas goes aggressive. Contact made immediately, and it's overrun. AZ's able to take him down as they push toward long and get map control. Map control very early as well. Single smoke for MSL that could cut off the doorway. Already thrown. Flashes will go high. KNG's position close does mean when they wrap, he can catch them off, but it should be traded. They're not quite close enough, so not an immediate trade, but AZ does have the accuracy, having picked up the USB.
And the bomb, of course, is making its way to the B site where he meets Henny. Able to find a kill already, dropping it towards the site, but Cajun B is able to trade that, so it's all on Steel. And unfortunately, he too toppled as he gets plucked from the side of the APC. North with a fantastic fake there. You can see how Lucas dying so early on and seeing that flood of T's. He calls the 3-man rotation off of the B site, which Immortals had initially stacked. Had they committed towards that stack, or if they even kind of lingered towards connector, there certainly could have been more of a defense towards the B site. Luckily for Henny, he even gets one. Had he dropped the second, suddenly that bomb's in his possession, and Immortals could have just rotated back towards the other side of the map and really locked things down, but that's not the case. It is the Danes with the opening round.
Opening round, then a preset toward B for the CT side with CZs picked up. Armor for 3, not for KNG nor Henny. We know are the AWP players, Henny being the primary, but KNG at the major we saw actually on this map was the start of it. In the major, KNG was playing lights out with the AWP. Henny during group stages, the Swiss system was actually struggling to find form, and they transitioned the primary operal on this map to KNG. So both players saving early doesn't really give me much indication as to who's going to be picking it up first. This time by Steel, underneath the drop, waits, smokes down, knows Vold is going to be close, spots him out, but so too is he spotted in return because it was a shoulder, not just the gun barrel. Let's blow the walls, the next best option to find kills.
Bolts though, he hasn't gone checked, so he sprays, takes 2, the bomb as well, at his feet as Cajun and AZ can swing this back still. It's got to be slowed down, and Lucas, well, he finds one up close, the ump for his troubles, and that leaves AZ in the clutch.
Can pull it back still, AK picked up. Bomb recovered as well as he drops into the site. He's going to go aggressive rather than plant. He's got 30 seconds to work with. Shoulder shows, knows he's there. Double peek, has information as to exactly where both are. No nades to work with, nothing to dispel them, but knows as well that if he taps, they'll have to go aggressive and peek. He walks it back. They're both in the open again, but he misses shots. Every missed shot at this point with 20 seconds becomes costly because they get closer, and closing distance on pistols becomes crucial as Immortals strike back.
Really well done there. You could see how they had that 4-man stack towards the B site, 3 players inside of sight, one of which being Bolts, who's lucky enough that MSL doesn't check it, but is skilled enough to actually commit to that 2-man spray. Only 12 bullets in the magazine, and he makes those shots count. Of course, KNG had all the information as he just lurked through the bottom of the A site, gets onto that fast flank. Before the CTs really have to force any kind of an engagement, the terrorists walk right into them. So North, just trying to get ahead of that flank, trying to barrel their way through what was the force buy defense, ultimately have flubbed the conversion points off the pistols. So we've now got the Immortals in the driver's seat as they hang on to the double rifle and the 3 SMGs. But there is still weapons for North to play with, and we see 4 players heading out towards the A site where Lucas, yet again, plays alone on the stairs. But at least KNG's been able to creep in, and if he can make first contact, then the man in stairs can just come whipping out, maybe catching them off guard. KNG finds the headshot, and there's the MP9, but it's dropped. And KNG with a Molotov in hand also falls. This is North with a route towards the A site.
Steel's going to rotate it back, gets the UMP closer. He's the only one inside of the site directly that's going to be able to try and fight off. Does successfully take down MSL, but he's got problems because they're deeper in the site than he realizes. Config's AK. Quick to the draw on a plant. AZ goes aggressive. Strike back for North. Bolts is inside sight unexpectedly. They didn't know that he was there, obviously, as Valda was jumping up. But Config's in position to trade. Bomb's never threatened. It goes 2-1 for North, and momentum shifts again. Forget the saving of armor. Forget the building up early, because now it's going to be a brawl to try and break the other team back in return. So KNG and Henny, forget the op plan early.
That's certainly been thrown out the window.
Oh, here we go. So it is going to be a full force. KNG actually had $4,300. He's gone M4 around the pistols. They know the money's still low on the North side. It always is a case when it's back and forth in the first 3 rounds. But this could hurt them quite a bit going forward, because it's only going to be a second round loss bonus, and they bought completely into it. If he had saved up, they could have distributed toward pistols on a more even force in the next round.
And so KNG accepts the responsibility of having to come up big in this round. He is going to be positioned towards the A site as North just compose themselves. They've spread out, they've watched for those initial pushes, and obviously they're going to want to get a read as to what Immortals have in store. Of course, you can't help but wonder if they're left with the same idea that last time they went towards this B site, they just fell to those pistols, having been pushed up close, and Immortals with enough flashbangs and a frag grenade to actually soften and blind up their targets that all it's going to take is 1 or 2 kills for that M4 to rotate over. A couple tag players could really seal their deal.
Bolts backs off. Shots from Deagle not landing. Boost up. They'll try and get to tree. They know they're trying to walk in. They can see above the smoke. That's why you boost. Henny finds one quite quickly, but has to fall off of it. That allows Config to transition toward the chicken coop. For Boost to go behind it as well. It's not common you see this. You can play it on the edge if he finds the shot. It's about as pretty as the teamwork can get, and they will. It's paper thin, but there's no rifles against them. They've got to be careful though, because Steel, he wraps around. Config strikes back. He's the last alive. They're going for the boost. They've given away their positions, and Lucas finds the round instead. The boost above the smoke to start it, and a retake that's successful. And we return serve once more.
Yeah, I mean, North, they're staying very much fixated on the site that they've decided to hit. They've now alternated between the A and the B bomb site every single round, and both times going B, they've lost to the pistols consequently. So this time, again, you kick it off with that nice boost over the tree, allows for the opening frag. You'd think that the man to the back of Coop could really just, reposition and find enough frags to shut down that retake attempt, but having committed 2 players towards Chicken Coop, there's actually nobody to trade off of the players towards lane, and that's where we see the Immortals get those initial frags on that retake. At that point, they get close to the smoke, and a couple more shots is all it took. So we have the Immortals back again in possession of guns, but North, they don't mind this because they can force behind it. Clearly, with 2 players being on full utility with Kevlar and AKs. That's obviously made possible by the fact that MSL and Valda have dropped their guns over and allowed for AZ to invest with everything they could. So it's kind of this like double raid boss play, but as opposed to being in a pistol round, we get it in the rifles. And we're going to actually watch North head back towards the A site, alternating yet again and walking into the weight of Lucas, who has now lost his head, but KNG will trade.
Trades it back, but watch for Valda to try and swing out late. I think he was just heard by Steel. He could have picked up one quick enough to shut down the first rotation. They still have the A site, to work with, because Henny's going for the long con. Full rotation around and smoke down. Steel's unsure of exactly what to expect. And they'll realize suddenly, with bomb planted and guns up, that it's probably best to sit back and go for exits and keep the economy as low as they possibly can. It'll be the first, I shouldn't say first, I was going to say first successive round. It's still back and forth, so it's still possible to break them in that sense, especially where Bolton has the AK carried over.
I like Immortals' style in the sense that they'll very regularly go for force buys, as we saw with KNG picking up that one M4. Like, that in and of itself is a risky play, and one that's calculated enough that when it paid off, it put them in a great position, and it makes them look smart. Of course, now in a moment with the 3v4 retake towards the A site, it's just so risky that Immortals recognize this threat, and they're not willing to make those ambitious plays, the ones that can cost them. It's much smarter to now try and take the opportunity to equalize your kill count, just try to, restabilize your economy, and come in with still a decent buy. We watched them win a round with a single M4 and 4 pistols, so now being on an AK and a trio of UMPs with more utility than they had combined on a single player now, this is great. It puts them with something to work with, and so a calculated decision mid-round right there leaves them better off than not.
KNG to wait. Get baited in. Very simple lineup for that smoke. Just toward the long corner. top of the tree, top of the scaffolding, line up the crosshair with each point. Smoke tutorials with Sato. Whew. Body block by AZ. That's all right. Doesn't really do much in the end, but took it straight to the chin. I think it's been a long time. This is where I can call out Peter from HLTV again. When was the last time a projectile kill was made in a competitive match?
I couldn't tell you. They're so rare and far and few between.
Do you know what my favorite one of his of all time, though?
Which?
Do you know Moxie, the streamer?
Yeah.
She once threw a decoy into the site, killed the last guy and defused the bomb, but then the decoy blew up and killed her while she was defusing.
It goes full circle.
Config starts it, KNG down. Slower pace to the round, obviously knowing that there's going to be guns against them, and North want to try and win back-to-back rounds, something no one's done so far as we hit round 6.
Steel has to be cautious, though. He's been moving around on the A site forward towards the stables. And of course, North, well, they're just on the cusp of this push, so he's actually going to try to skewer them as they come walking in, but MSL gets the best of him. The smoke grenades allow for Lucas and Bolts to be sectioned off, and, well, Bolts has lost his teammate, so he knows when to call it a day. He'll fall back to the B site and forfeit another round to North, who, as you've alluded to, finally convert some points. But Config doing what he does best.
He's going to lose, I think, the gun in this duel because he's so low in HP. Henny should... Ooh, he didn't. I was going to say, should spot him. That would have been an upgrade to an AK for Henny. MSL next in line, making a lot of noise. He's going to think that same position is also clear, so Henny does get one onto AZ. They find both. They take the guns down. Nothing to work with on the Immortals side. Sitting around 2K each. 39 for Henny, but sit back and let him get out the op in the next round. Sit tight with pistols. And AZ reads that, knows finally they've got control of the economy. He'll go on to a Mac 10. Big old Mac Daddy.
Back and forth fight has finally come to a close, but Immortals will still invest with some pistols. I mean, no Kevlar, no grenades. You really can't give them much, and especially knowing that AZ is going to get aggressive here. I mean, he doesn't even have a utility. He simply wants to charge. But Lucas at least hears this, so KNG will get to the back of the bomb site. Maybe he can deal some kind of a damage, but already removed as Valda finds the opening frag, and North easily find the bomb site. 2K for Valda, although he loses his health, he's got teammates all around him, and it's another round here from North. Hands down.
Looking to start rolling now with the lead as they have it. Don't really need to do much against the pistols, but we'll see how Immortals respond again. Expect the AWP to be up in the hands of Henny next round. Bolts, good find on Valda. Need to make it costly where they can. As you say, round done in the fact that bomb is down and there's no kits, there's no one near it. Config just has to sit and hold off toward Murder Hole, goes through, takes down Henny. Bolts will be found similarly.
Even now.
Did he?
What's up?
Config. Carry on. Just saw Bison.
Did you?
Yes.
Is it on the ground?
It's on the ground now.
Well.
Just throwing some money away, no big deal.
He's got it to play with.
Gotta love the buys every now and then.
Either way.
Yeah, either way, this is where Henny needs to... Oh, he's trying to go out with... He's expecting flashes, but look how fast North's already in position. Henny thinks he's clever. Oh, but he still is. He's quick enough to find Config instead.
That's a sick opening from Henny, and he's actually going to stay up close with more players starting to push past him. Now, he's fully blind, but they haven't checked this as of yet. Great flashbangs here from North. Excellent utility allows for them now to take the bomb site with those 2 kills, but Bolts, well, he only finds 1. And while KNG is close to the site, Lucas is nowhere to be found. So if he finds some frags or stops that plant, then something can be made. But that's a lot to ask.
Wow, he didn't even get Valda, who came off the bomb, knew he was already there and got the gun drawn fast enough, so Lucas has to save again. And they lose the AWP. That was such a fast shot from Henny. I'm so surprised. I was watching it in third-person perspective of both players setting up. And Config just sat with his crosshair waiting, hearing Henny, and still got taken down. But either way, it doesn't amount to much when they walk into the site. Still get a plant. So again, with force, North will find round number 6 to their total. Babysit the bomb. Let's not make one of those mistakes.
Yeah, you never want to give away a freebie. So So he reels back, Cajun's gonna be fine, everybody's good here for North. And I mean, this just goes to pay off to, again, the depth of North, right? Like, they're not a kind of team that's ever gonna become complacent in their setups. They're gonna just continuously throw new things at their opponents. And I mean, this is ridiculous from Henny. Able to get onto the boxes, and as his feet touch the tip of that ledge, he's able to get that quick scope up close. So that's, I mean, a saving grace. If he gets caught off guard, then you can only imagine that North run down that bomb site even more successfully than they did. With Immortals' economy still not in a great spot, they're gonna try to play the M4 yet again. Of course, Lucas saving that from the last. The CZs and single Deeg is all the rest the Brazilians have to play off of. North already having found some room in drop. That's 3 players coming into the B bomb site. Bolts is the first to fall, and while Steel puts up somewhat of a fight, it's immediately traded back. This has been a common trend. Immortals getting a couple of kills, but North still succeeding.
Yeah, they've just got so much skill right now in their trades on entry. Config goes down again early without a kill. That's pretty rare for Config. He still sits on 11, mind you, because he's done so much good work early on, but immediately they're behind him. They follow up. They've got a plan, and they're not being intimidated to slow off of it. A lot of times you see teams, if they don't get the trade immediately, they slow down a little bit too much. North's not willing to play that game to Immortals and cater back to them taking advantage early. Keep the pace high, keep Immortals on the back foot. Double op setup. We're going to see it immediately, and it's Glass Cannon. Okay, I take that back. He still has money, so KNG will get the armor, but it's going to be double op for the two of them. Expected to see it at some point. We're seeing it in a situation where they're down and desperate, and therefore economy becomes a massive factor if they're going to be buying this heavily. Max bonus, but CT side.
We have seen Immortals go for this early B setup over and over. Henny not wanting to get aggressive, but instead just playing on site. So Config's gonna fire off the chicken coop, and a missed shot allows for him now to just continue on. But not the rest of the team, as they fall into the drop down. They want to split this site. Cajun also arriving with the bomb on his back, but finally Immortals with a man advantage. They're gonna try to make this work as the smokes plume across the site. Config creating more space and allowing for Cajun to play the plat as he will try the plant.
Good find, Config. This time he's alive late. Doing what he does best in those situations. As Lucas was way out toward long A early on with KNG anchoring toward the top of middle. Has to rotate all the way back around. They're still not sure where he is. So time to get closer to the site and the fact that they've not yet planted. Config this time certainly will. And Lucas knows he's got to run. Immediate confirmation. It's always going to be B. Has a kit, incendiary, and a smoke to work with, so he's got all things on his side except for time and manpower, which is a significant one, especially when you've got so long to set up your post plant to bait them out. But if they just walk out and give one-on-ones, that doesn't really matter, does it? Now he's got a real shout in the round as Lucas takes down Config for free. Smoke on bomb, Molotov to force Cajun out of position, but the smoke doesn't bloom, and Cajun gets the shot.
Timing, in the sense that he pulls out those grenades. You'd think off of the Molotov, you'd expect a player to be forced into the open. And it's exactly that what happens. North able to just lock down that B site. Again, being successful in their entries, being more successful in their trade fragging has been North. And we see that wall of smoke towards the B site a second time. They read into the fact that some of the Immortals players might come pushing through that in order to catch off the offense as they tried to find their plant. And so the Immortals now down by 6. KNG spotting bodies towards the A site already, but North just keeping up this pace. They go charging up the ramp, and they want to clear out the half wall where KNG still holds. Steals the only CT with a frag thus far, and it's North with the bomb site in their pocket yet again. Molotovs, frags, smokes aplenty. It's all raining forward and convincing Immortals to fall back.
Fall back again. North, remember, have map 1 gifted to them and are getting a substantial lead. It is a T-sided map still. I think that is very consequential to whose team and what teams are playing it in style, and I've gone into that a few times with Henry, and we've had discussions about the map style itself, but overall statistically it is a T-sided map, and North is certainly putting Immortals in a position that's a bit precarious. And the fact as well, with the double op setup, it's a map that they're very good on in using it. They haven't been able to get anything rolling, and money continues to be a factor. North could have the fastest grand final victory in the history of Counter-Strike CSGO.
Could be a pretty quick day in the office here, man.
I'll take it. North will take it, I'm sure.
Yeah, no complaints on their camp, I'm sure. Absolutely. But of course, We've seen good things from the Immortals already. They've had multiple rounds now get at least closer. When we started to watch the economy of North stabilize while Immortals were, then giving up those rounds, force buying back and forth, those ones were still much more convincing. And so the Immortals aren't out of it as of yet, but they should be in this round. The FAMAS, the Mag 7, the only tools they have to play off of. Unless these CZs can get even closer, but it's a fast pace from North, set yet again over towards the platform where they take the B site by storm. Nobody holds the line here from the Immortals, and the rest of the team, well, they're nowhere to be found. Rotating 2 players from the flank over from long A, and the second man still towards connector, that being, of course, Lucas. So, Immortals, well, they can hope for some exits, but we're getting into the territory of no return, as we are now 13 rounds deep. About to be.
Flash is so good. He's still blind, even though he missed the first shot. But it doesn't really matter when it's this late in the round and they're desperate to find kills. Steel's read the fact that they're gonna boost. Get down and get a gun. Would have been lovely, but getting away with going into the drop rather than out of it would have been rather tricky to do. 10-2 for North. 10-2 for North. Map 1, but really map 2. 6 to go. And Immortals psychologically checked out of this, I'm sure. It's appalling, but they go back to the double op anyway. We're going to try and bring it back out. Try and salvage what they can of the half, as we often say they need at least 3 rounds to make a contest out of anything, but they need more than that, I think, today. And he tries to get a shot down toward long, back off, no contact, but it gives him the position and peek again because he's got a Molotov to work with, as well as a single flash to get him the angle.
Into the drop down goes North. Valda gonna flash himself through the flames as they just start to fade, but he takes a lot of damage in the process and doesn't get his kill. Although he does get the attention of Henny, who's still trying to lock down platform. But while Immortals have that second opper towards connector door, it's gonna be maybe Lucas to make contact towards half wall. He's gonna start to hear what is the majority here of North pushing in.
I just want to state, too, for the record with lateness, I will say that Bolts and Steel, I saw both of those guys here earlier, so...
Yes.
For all the witch hunters out there, I'm sure there's lots of people brewing on social media and Reddit and whatnot. I actually talked to Steel just casually because he's a fan of racing as well, and he was here a half hour ahead of time, so those two, certainly not part of the issue, but Bolts nonetheless finds the kill onto Valda. That's the first opening kill that Immortals has had in a while. Round 6 and 7, they had it, but it was traded back. This time, it won't be. Steel sustains, and so too does KNG taking down MSL. Missed shot on Cajun, but it's fine because Lucas has position and information. Shadow favors, and it's on to Config in a 1 versus 4.
Now to the top of the site, he does find Steel, and the door peek will get himself killed. That's Bolt with a final frag. So he's prepared, he's ready to go, and he's at least gotten Immortals a 3rd round to the board. Now 5-10, best case scenario. And that's saying something, as Immortals are at least able to restabilize with the double op setup. It's that which nets them their last round. We saw connector door being held and having some impact, but nice re-peek by Cajun. Created a bit of an opening, but just not enough North players left over by the end of it. So instead, we're going to see a shift in the A-site defense yet once more. Immortals boosting Lucas to the high side of the wall, and he's actually going to find early contact versus Config. Very aggressive play, as per usual. And that's
That'll give them something to work with as Henny gets 2 for 1. Went for the same angle last time. This time catches them in the flash, and they're lined up perfectly. A 4th round might be on the cards. Finally, Immortals arrive. Yes, I say that with a bit of a pun, but they are here and in the game, finally.
Cajun P at this point, economic damage, the only thing he can really do, and with it being the final round after this, could be worth it. Minute on the clock, take your time, Cajun. Work your magic.
Go for it. Shoulder spotted. Sounded correctly where it came from, but Bolts up close, swings wide, so it's the 4th round for Immortals. Great start for Henny, but lots of money still on the north side and in their camp, so double up stays out. It's been their saving grace, especially in the last round as we saw, but it's going to be a single op brought out for Cajun again, and all the rifles, all the utility. Pace has been slowed for North, more specifically in the last 2 rounds.
Yeah, while they try to feel aggressively towards one side of the map, obviously Config playing on his own, that aggression gets just immediately shut down. So Immortals kind of forcing the hand of North, making them calculate their decisions. coming out of top for the most part. Still, Immortals rotating towards the B site where North look to strike. It is again this wall of smokes. Now we've seen North succeed in these moments generally, but Immortals are still 4 players on the other side. Lucas, with an incredibly long flank, is yet to arrive and steals the first to fall. MSL trying to cover his bomb carrier as shots just go spamming through the smokes. It is still the 4v4, but the bomb's been put in. And Cajun finds the man advantage. That's at least something to work with. Config doubling down and still locking the chicken coop is easy. Henny finding another on plat, though.
Lucas, good shot again as this retake has substantial legs to it, but it's down to just Lucas as he loses his brother. Nade goes out, does catch one. Immediate trade back to Volda as he snaps over his aim. Damage was done by the nade, but he's got no time. He's got to hold, and AZ know the situation all too well. He'll get the 11th round for North as we swap over. And if they get pistol, writing could be on the wall.
There's going to be a lot riding on this pistol round, and that's something that Immortals have played well. I'll give them that. Good pistol players. Of course, they did pick up the 4-spy round versus North in that opening half, which was then traded back and forth for the entire opening 4.
Interesting thing is that the frag distribution between both teams, despite it being 11-4, is quite close. There was a lot of situations, again, we talked about the trading from North, but situations where rounds could have easily been swung the other direction. Not too many clutches, even though when I say that. So it wasn't like it came down to one-on-ones, but a lot of early round battles for position that North just constantly were winning. And we've already mentioned it as well. As soon as they had any ground to walk on, they took it as a team. They went with force. So 16-0 is what it's classified as on Mirage. We're 11-4 on Cobblestone. Bolts on screen, not saying much of anything, but they were starting to have some life in them toward the end of the half, especially Henny with the AWP.
Crucial that they at least stabilized for those last 2 consecutive rounds. I mean, it's a minor difference, but substantial in and of itself. So, Immortals, what have you got to throw the way of the North? Seeing as the Danes are sitting towards the B site, 3 players there, immediately falling for this and rotating over, but Cajun opens up with a headshot. And now, in response, the Immortals are just going to go charging up a ramp into the lightweight of North, who find another, but Bolts makes space towards long A, and he's going to try to get towards site. Immediately flooding out from Balk is the CT side, 2 of which have died. Volda, though, on the site, has to reload, has to find a headshot on 3 HP. The bomb's been dropped, and now it's all on Cajun.
Bigger problem was that he couldn't stay alive because Cajun didn't get a chance to get close. Tried to do what he could to bait out time. They don't expect Cajun from Stables, though. He's got a real chance to walk in on them and catch them off. They've jumped, they spot. If they jumped and looked toward lower and not been able to see Cajun, he could have easily snuck in and found both of them lined up and easily waiting for him. Instead, he's going to go searching spots behind the APC. It's still a one-on-one isolation, good play as he finds Bolts. A chance for steal, but he thinks it's the same person. He thought it was the same player that he spotted on the site rather than the second, so he actually looks away.
Yeah, very well done there by the second teammate to just never give himself up informationally. Sure enough, hiding behind the APC really sells that gimmick, makes it seem as though it was Steel the whole time. And Steel never making a noise. Sits underneath the half wall, swings out just as Cajun looks away. You could see how Cajun was even cautious, thinking maybe the player was in the full back of the bomb site. But then APC drew his attention, and Steel drew his blood. So North, I mean, with such a substantial lead, they can take the time to make sure they get themselves a nice full buy. They'll do exactly that by coming into this one with only some pistols, and Bolts already finds 2 frags, make it 3 towards the B site.
Not bad. Steel gets AZ. He'll follow up for Config. So Bolts and Steel holding their worth for Immortals. 11-6, they get a little bit closer. Again, North will be comfortable sitting back and waiting for the guns to be drawn. They'll wait one more round as well. Cajun's built up enough economy based on getting close in the one-on-one and getting a number of kills early on that he'll have an op easily. Could already have one. Pretty much, well, just about now. He's a couple $100 light.
I think this plays into the reserve style that we praise North for having, right? As opposed to Immortals who are putting themselves in force buy situations over and over. North are very willing to go light on their buys in order to ensure some guns. But nice WSP here from the CTs, then immediately cleaned up by Lucas and Steel. So the Immortals, they anticipate the full commitment. They anticipate all 5 players, and they've at least gotten themselves now 7 rounds to the board. So 4-point lead, still a hill to climb. But at least they're on the T side where they can, I think, set more of a pace with their aggression. That's what we know the Immortals for, is playing that fast pace and being a very in-your-face sort team. On the CT side of Cobblestone, your playstyle can be very limited. We'll see if they can continue to open up some shop as North are in with a double op setup of their own.
North can't write it off yet either, because the Immortals can definitely build into this, put everything behind them, and start focusing. We're seeing rounds string together. Double op, as you mentioned as well, for Config. Goes aggressive toward long A. Cajun anchors B. No one out searching for information at this point in time, but rather just waiting to receive it. Now for KNG. Holds the angle. Flash goes over, but Lucas wants to be flashed in. Surprisingly straight peeks it. They definitely had a player nearby to support. As he takes a bullet through the doorway. They're trying to sell it still with Steel on top of drop, but a shot from Config may deter any activity that was going toward A. If they'd pushed Config off corner, we may have seen an A split with Steel just to lurk down late from drop. Now with bolts pushed up on long and Steel inside of it, it looks B is the target. And Volda, he's on top of the tree, has position to swing both ways, but has to play off Cajun and be ready for Cajun's call as soon as the op shot's made toward long.
Volda even feels that this corner could be occupied, so he's going to peek into it, finds a turned head from Steel, and another man advantage now as the terrorists start to cross. They have convinced Cajun off, but he re-peeks and finds the kill to Henny. Lucas, Bolt, all that remain, both completely slain. That's North with a significant hold yet again.
Decent play from MSL. Very, very subtle play from the in-game leader. As soon as Volda committed to the corner and sensed that Steel was in there, he's not in a position any further to support Cajun. The flash, that was MSL. He read the fact that if Volda's going to give up on top of tree, MSL no longer has to cover off the window once he wins E-Box. Immediately rotates with a flash in hand, ready to throw for Cajun before they were even in the site. So good synergy between the 3 players on B. It gives Cajun a re-peek as well because he missed the opening shot. Speaking of opening shots, Config, aggressive as always, can't find it toward the statue and has to be forced to back off on the A site.
The utility play here from North on both the T side and now CT side has really been curbing the attempts of Immortals. We see that one time they try to hold the B side in the first half, so many flashbangs, just blinding any kind of defense. And now, as they get over towards the platform, they're just continuously flashed for like a solid 10 seconds. And then you see how the T's just reel back into the drop down where Cajun is able to find an opening frag. Bolts tries to cross and it costs him his life. And MSL, he anchors in connector. He never moves from the bottom of that windowsill. And then if ever the B-site players feel pressured, he just starts chucking utility over top of the door. We've seen it have impact in multiple instances already. But we're gonna see if the Immortals can still pinch into the B-site. They have no feeler towards A, where North start to give up. Entry taken down by Volda. He's able to lock it in for now. And Cajun's patient on this angle. Oh, he holds the line.
Sit and wait as well. He might get gifted. Shoulder baits are fine, but not if 2 people are going to do it, because if he fires at one, he'll still hit the other, and he goes back around the statue and finds KNG as well. Just Henny that remains, and at North, if they go to 13 rounds now, break the economy. And Immortals' late run, including the second pistol, we come up short, and Henny not ready for AZ to be so close. Gets taken down by the M4. Very, very tight situation for the Brazilians now.
Cajun like a turret behind that statue. Re-peeks accordingly. And that win now leaves Immortals back to the pistols. A collection of them with 2 smoke grenades, the frag and the flash. Only bolts with a little bit of armor. Helmet to boot. Config posted up. Spots 3 players cross and then repositions for the lower peak, but it's AZ over on the stairs. Oh, he sprays, finding 2 and then getting dropped himself, leaving Config to divert his attention and still pummel away with the op, denying Immortals time and time again.
Straightforward. Smiles from MSL, Config, not even flustered. Guns drawn. No double up setup available, and to be frank, it's T-side. It's not one I would want to run on Cobblestone, but they will have Henny on his at the very least. Config and AZ continuing to work together toward A as expected. We mentioned it as well, even with Magisk on the team, they've rotated. It's going to be flashed out from AZ. Fast peek from Config. Henny was ready, never caught by the utility.
An advantage from Immortals. Something they haven't had often, but something that they've worked well. A little bit of chip damage off of the frag of AZ. He does still hold off on long, and he's actually going to boost MSL into the turret, so he could reel backwards from this position, go watch lower if need be, or even try to bait players in to the waiting in-game leader. Meanwhile, Cajun's so patient towards the B site, about to maybe find Bolts, who's just, again, toying with the shoulder peek. Oh, but Bolts flashes his way in, finds Cajun, and now it's on MSL. He lets one cross, but he spots the next.
This is big. Take me to your later. Follow. Oh, he does turn, so he has to fire, but he's still behind them. Nade thrown. They've got the attention turned back. He's ready on the angle. It'll bring Volda back inside of the front of the site, however. If he could have found two, if he had been just one better, Volda's chances would have increased, but with 41 seconds, they have time to rotate the bomb back away from A. Volda's got it down to a one-on-one with Henny. AWP, 9 HP, has to hit the first shot. Volda, a single bullet from any gun, takes him down at this point in time as he sits back as well. Bomb in Henny's hands has to go away at this point. From long, there's no time to get back to B. And he'll creep his way in. Thought about pre-scoping it because remember that is an audible noise heard on both sides. But instead he'll rely on his reaction time. And Volda knows that he's got to cross now. He'll gamble on staying on A, and he does so correctly. Map and championship point for North already.
We saw Cloud9 try and make the comeback versus North when they sat on 14, stagnant for a little while, but that 1v1 clutch right there really forces the hands of Immortals. Their buy will not be great. And Volda's patient looked fantastic. He knew at that point, he was so committed to the position. Henny had to cross, time playing against him. So the three UMPs, Galil and Deeg, is what the Brazilians will have to work with in an attempt to come back with these last 8 rounds. Valde getting very aggressive. We know he spams this smoke. We know he has these angles down packed. And he has a massive advantage with that M4. But he doesn't fancy his chances, seeing as he's already lost more than half health. So he'll play it safer.
MSL gives territory back to Steel at the top of the drop. Flash back in because he knows he needs the territory, and he'll hold angle instead. Steel does have KNG immediately behind him and does have a flash KNG to push Steel out further, but he doesn't do so fast enough. He thinks a little bit hesitantly of it. Never gets the flash thrown, and Steel goes down from a repeat from North. Good teamwork again to work together and getting the position, and now they can go back to supporting Cajun. Missed shot on the opening at least, but MSL is ready. Problem is that AZ's gone pushed back on the window, so MSL, he needs to continue to watch the E-box and let Volda be baited in, which means Cajun isn't necessarily, although yes, he's an AWP and he's looking for kills, isn't necessarily the final boss. Volda is. Volda's been found. That opens the site. This becomes a problem, and Cajun's got to clutch back. AZ back in with bomb down, has a chance, but only due to the fact that bomb's on the ground. Config's close to it, but work to do.
Up close is the first one. Bolts is able to retrieve the bomb, but Config through the edge of the wall. He finds the headshot, so another round back-to-back 1v1 in Config. He's gonna push in, he gets caught off guard, and Bolts with a saving grace has been able to extend their chances at least 1 round. However, 7 more to go.
Tried to bait him out with the jump. But Bolts wins it with a Galil. Keeps us alive, at least for now. Money not for the AWP this time on Immortals side. They'll go aggressive. The rifles instead, and it's pistols for North. Despite having 4 rounds in a row and only losing 1, it just goes to show you how closely contested the rounds were because their economy was not substantial enough. They could have forced on this, to be fair, but North's playing disciplined, very disciplined, and you have to admire that. Too many times teams will force on this. They've got $4 grand on some players, but no need to overcommit early, and they'll allow this to get to a 9th round for Immortals.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is just this is a prime example of like the stylistic difference between these two teams. Immortals, well, they'll buy when they don't even have enough money, whereas North, having the cash, don't decide to get into it. Obviously, Config curb buys, and it gets them 2 kills for it, so still keeping that cash of Immortals at bay. If they start winning rounds with only a few players, we can see maybe some of those limitations shine through, but obviously a single round is all that the Danes need to work with. And that gets them back into the buy. Full grenades, all the utility, kits, op, all they could ask for. And while we did watch Immortals try to work the double op setup prior to, it's going to be the 5 rifles this time around. And again, a fast play towards the A site. AZ up close will be tested, and he sprays for 3. Lucas with a trade, though, and Immortals with an entry chance.
Config will shut it all down, though, getting behind them. The chance gone. And in one map, they win a best of 3. That's right, because North were gifted the first one, and they clean up. Let that not be an asterisk beside North's performance, however. They were excellent throughout this whole event. It would have been a challenge for Immortals either way. But they've got problems to face, inevitably. The ridicule of many. An organization that's probably not too pleased. And a chance at victory they gave away. North seizes the opportunity. DreamHack Montreal champions, not too bad.
Not too bad at all. I mean, again, this kind of just restabilizes their recent performances. They've had good tournament runs as of late. And this is one of those events that I think a lot of teams came into and wanted to kind of establish themselves with the win. If you had asked me at the beginning of the weekend who we'd see in the finals, it should have been these 2 teams. But it's truly North that showed up today, and they cement themselves at the top.
Well, north of the border, it's North in DreamHack Montreal 2017. Didn't have CS here last year. This week we do. They are your Canadian champions, if you will. North. And fitting they let Volda pick up the trophy. New boy on the team, 2 straight finals for them. One with great success. It's a great start. Good honeymoon story.
Yeah, I mean, again, we speak of, Pimp on the analyst desk mentioning how there's always this kind of grace period with a team that MSL has newcomers come to. He's very good at fitting them into their mix, and so this is just par for the course. North, a real powerhouse right now, and an excellent top 10 team. Just fantastic stuff. Again, they are very convincing in their play, especially Volda. I mean, we see him, depart and have that hiatus from play. You expect him returning to the top level to maybe have some struggles, and he's now had 2 rockstar performances in both Malmo and now DreamHack Montreal. Cloud9 and CLG making that top 4, and he was on the board here this weekend. But it's the foreigners that come up big.
You have to wonder as well, strictly from the North perspective, they would have wanted to earn this. They would have wanted to work for it.
Yeah.
They might actually be slightly disappointed that the final wasn't what it should have been. Yes, it's a win, and yes, I think they would have won it anyway, but they might feel slightly disappointed that it wasn't what they were. You like to work for it. You like to achieve your goal rather than
they're
be
very
handed
competitive
to it at the
people.
end. Exactly.
So at the end of the day, it's competition that they love, and it's competition that they strive for, and that competition was cut a little short here tonight. Well, afternoon really. So
more time for maple syrup at the bar, though.
That's absolutely true.
That's why I'm here in Canada. Well, with that said, there's someone else that's here in Canada. He's brought a couple friends with him. It's Stunna and the desk.
That must be a Canadian thing to just drink maple syrup at the bar. I don't know anything about that. But what I do know about is we have a North that was on the cusp of victory in Malmo and now hoisting the trophy here in Montreal. Well-deserved. Again, I don't think that you can put an asterisk aside this one. These guys played lights out from the moment they walked in the building.
The best team won the tournament, and that's how it was.
I couldn't agree more. I think even without the circumstance that happened in the grand final, I think North was probably going to take it anyway. They've been lights out since Valdez joined.
Yeah, and all in all, to see that come together for them, good for them. And even more than that, I believe we've got some footage from Config in the game. We're going to take a look at that real quick. Just an outstanding player all around. Probably one of my favorite people amongst the entire scene.
Yeah, absolutely. This guy is just a beast, and he's really showed up on day 2 and day 3 for sure. And not only that, Volda had big rounds. AZ had big rounds. The big 3 is what we were looking for in the finals, and Config was definitely the best.
Config was the best, and hey, look, we found him. He's right here. Now, Config, a weird one to even kind of go into in a post-match analysis, but right away, I'm just going to kind of open the floor for you to do the thing you do best.
We rigged them. No, we didn't want the map win for the first map. We wanted to play both maps, but sadly we couldn't fix it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in this situation, the rules are the rules, and obviously having that one map advantage going into it. Did it create a different environment within the team when the ruling was passed down?
Yeah, I think so. It felt a little bit like it felt wrong for us about it, and then we were just like, okay, we'll just continue with what we usually do and play the best game we can.
Yeah, I mean, you guys had one hell of a tournament to say the least. Like the first game against Galeforce, that wasn't pretty. Did that like tell anything about you guys' current form, or was that just like the first game of a tournament?
I think I had a really bad individual start, which made us a bit uncomfortable on the CT side and T side as well. So I just played a lot of deathmatch and then kind of got into my game again the last 2 matches here.
We already talked a little bit about Valde, also with MSL. How does this new guy like chime in the team from your perspective?
I think Valde is the perfect fit. He's very like social with everyone, and we like him as a player and as a friend as well. So I think that's what we needed with Emil.
And picking up Valde, did it change your role within the team at all, or did he just fit in automatically?
He fit in. He's in our game from the beginning. So he was like sat down, practice one day, and then it felt amazing. So he's in. He's definitely in. You know.
Yeah. Well, it is definitely super strange that the way this kind of final turned out with the forfeit. What is your take on the situation?
It feels wrong. That's everything. I wanted to play both maps, and I feel like it could have been a lot more funnier than it was. But I don't know. I'm just shocked, a little bit shocked, I think. And I think everyone on the team was as well.
Don't let it take it away from the victory, because we all think you're going to win it either way. Let's be honest, y'all were the best team here.
Yeah, moving from this tournament into the next one, you have New York coming up, if I'm not mistaken?
No, E-League.
E-League, apparently, yeah. E-League. How do you fancy your chances of making the playoffs in let's say, a tournament with a little bit more competition than at Montreal?
100%.
100%?
100%.
Feeling it. Now, I mean, even rewinding a little bit, we did just come from Malmo, and then to go from here. Did anything change in between those two tournaments?
No, not really. We just played our game. We didn't have time to practice, so we were just doing our style, and then MSL was calling the way he does, so I'm just doing the same style as every time.
Same style as every time, sounds like.
I know earlier, MSL, when we were interviewing him, he was saying Valde kind of steps in and does some calling from time to time. Is that something that could potentially be like a role swap later if, I don't know, MSL is not feeling it, maybe Valde's feeling it? Is that possible?
No, I don't think so. MSL is a really strict person sometimes, but I think that he gives Valde a lot of trust.
Okay.
So I think that Cajun is the second call, and then he might be the third or the fourth.
Oh, okay.
And I'm just playing the game, just sitting down and shooting people.
Yeah, and you seem to be really good at it. It's kind of nuts, right? So one last thing before you go. I'm going to open the floor. Give your shout-outs, give your thank yous. Say what you will. Say your piece. You're really good at this part, too.
I want to say thank you to everyone who's bought a North shirt. We saw a couple here. And I want to say thank you to everyone who is supporting us from home. And I know this is not the final we wanted. We wanted to play 2 maps or 3 maps. So that's just it. I love you guys.
Man, I felt that one in the core myself. Congratulations again, the winner of DreamHack Astro Open Montreal. And I believe that does it for us here on the desk. I'm going to go ahead and thank our sponsors once more in Astro, Monster Energy, Zowie, Corsair, Intel, and Lenovo Legion for making this happen, as well as Strafe and... sorry, I got something in my throat there. And the Sliver.tv app, of course, can't forget that. That's where you get all the goods. Regardless, that does it for us here. We will be seeing you guys in Denver, and that does it.